Beyond the Waves is a Hail Hail Media production. It may contain sweary words, and adult situations may be discussed. If you're in the company of underage temps, turn up the show now and listen back later. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, email us at beyondthewaves67@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter at BTW Celtic Show, or you can join our group on Facebook at Beyond the Waves. Hail, hail, and keep the faith.
Turn it off, fear is your only god on the radio. Nah, think you're tough, you think you're smart, but they know how to break your heart. They'll chew you up and spit you out, make you start again.
Welcome to the Beyond the Waves Celtic Football Show. My name is Graham Wilson, and we are coming to you live today after a 3-0 win for Celtic over Edinburgh Hibernian. Joining me, as always, from Perth Amboy, New Jersey, it is the Rev. Hail, hail, Rev.
Good afternoon.
How are you this fine day, sir?
Pretty good.
Would you please pass the jelly?
Oh my goodness. Is it time for jelly and ice cream again?
I smell it. It's coming.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in. It's Craig White. He returns just in time. We all thought there was going to be a rift between the support. Shame on all of us. I'll tell you what, that boy has a knack for timing. No question about it. We're going to talk about that today, as well as everything that happened pretty much this week. I mean, what an eventful week, really. Had the chance to win the title today. Unfortunately, was not to be. James McFadass had to go and ruin everything for us. But, we're champions-elect. There's a certain cachet with that. So, we'll put it off to another day. Also, congratulations to Jackie McNamara and his staff, Simon Donnelly, for their entry into the top 6 with Dundee United. So, fantastic to see former Celtic greats having success there. And also want to give a special shout-out to Paul Larkin and all of the attendees of the Bampot book launch. I wish I was there for that today. It's surely just a fantastic time going on for them. So all the best there. Hope you are enjoying it. And a round of applause, a congratulations to Jeanette Finley of the Celtic Trust, as well as everybody that was involved in organizing the demonstration today. Yes. in George Square. Seemingly went off without a hitch. Many accounts had it at 3,500 to 4,000 people, even though the BBC wanted to say hundreds, maybe tens of hundreds. BBC, fantastic. Rev, did you get a chance to catch up with any of the, obviously on Twitter there were loads of pictures and some video that was up. Did you happen to spot any of that?
A little bit. I didn't see any videos, but I saw a bunch of pictures. It's good to see that there were no incidents. I was a little skeptical on behalf of, the police and, what they might do. But then, tried to think about it realistically, and it turned out that to be the case. I think because it was so much of the spotlight was put on it, they knew that any tiny misstep would have been, overblown and highlighted, and, that it would have been used as, see, this is what we're talking about. This is why we're marching.
And rightfully so.
Yeah, no. But then again, on the flip side, I also think that they are afraid of that, and it goes to show that, when the people get together, they can be a force to be reckoned with.
Exactly.
They're not saying, we needed to riot or anything like that, but I mean, it was a peaceful protest, and it showed that, that it's, the truth lies with the people.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with regard to when we get together and when we gather en masse like this. Obviously certain channels were followed. They got the approval to have the gathering, and certainly, that puts the police in the quandary where they can't have something to fall back on when and if they use excessive force. I mean, let's be honest, they're dying to use excessive force to put Timmy in his place and her place. And, when we do follow the right channels and get the, approved permits and so on and so forth, they really have no recourse. Not to say that the Green Brigade should be blamed for what happened in the Corteo. I mean, it's a couple hundred max kids getting together and walking. And I think what today proved is that we're not this sort of marauding, pillaging gathering of people who are hell-bent on causing trouble and destruction and danger. They have us confused with the other team on the other side of Glasgow, on the other side of the river. So I think there were a lot of points proven. I think it certainly mobilized the support. Some of the displays from the Green Brigade around the stadium today were just absolutely spectacular. Some of the banners that were put up, and of course the Craig White banner. Craig White is back, so we will have to prepare ourselves over the next coming weeks. It's deja vu all over again. We're coming through another title.
Would you please pass it, Jalen?
Yes, thank you very much. We're coming up to another title run here, or I guess capturing another title. Should have been today. Fantastic play on the park as well. 3-0. The scoreline was not indicative, I think. I mean, it certainly could have been 5, even 6-0. We had all of the possession. We really did a nice job in keeping our shape. Fraser Forster had little, if anything, to do really on the day. It seemed as though the players were playing, well within themselves, quite disciplined. I take issue on a pretty consistent basis with Charlie Mulgrew being in the midfield. I just don't think that he lends anything to the creative spark, the attack, facilitating the link up between the midfield and the strikers. But what we saw on a consistent basis was the magic. That is Gary Hooper and Anthony Stokes linking up together. And when they're both on form, magical things happen. I mean, the 1-2s, they really create opportunities for themselves. I mean, more so, I'd put more of the credit over to Anthony Stokes in terms of that. I mean, I think that, I've used the analogy in the past. I mean, he creates the bullets for Gary Hooper to fire. In my opinion, Gary Hooper, he's had his head turned. I mean, if the past several weeks have not been any sort of confirmation for us today, I think it was a continuation at least. I mean, it's confirmed for me. I know, many folks are going to hold out, some sort of judgment or reservation at the moment, but he's had his head turned, and not just by the barber who cut his hair. Really should have charges pressed against him, as well as his tattoo artist. I really don't know what these boys are thinking, but anyway, they're the ones that are on $25,000 a week, not me. Rev, what were your thoughts there? I mean, Gary Hooper, we had opportunities. I mean, just gifted to us, literally, and we couldn't put them away. I think at some points it looks like Gary Hooper feels like he's playing for Brazil, like he wants to, do like the samba and chip it in, or just do something fancy or lay it off, when all he needs to do is just burst the back of the net.
Yeah, no, that's what he is. He's the poacher. He's the guy that just kind of has to stand there and just wait for the pass from if it's coming from Stokes or from whoever's in creating in the midfield, if anybody, hopefully. And then just, slam it into the net. I do think he does have a little bit of flair to him, and he can do, gorgeous maneuvers, and curve the ball and stuff, but it's not that consistent enough to where he can, try to do that every game. So it's, just do what you're best at and just slam it in.
Well, I just think when you have opportunities like that, don't even mess around. Don't. I mean, just do what you're paid to do. He's the predator. He's the fox in the box, so to speak. I mean, just get it over with, and forget about form, and just I think that in several circumstances today, we were trying to perhaps make it look pretty. I mean, the pass to Mulgrew when he was. I mean, don't pass to Mulgrew. I mean, Mulgrew is fantastic from, outside of 18 yards, but you get him inside the box and he's absolutely atrocious.
With his foot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Lustig really handled his opportunity quite well. Oh!
It was funny that play, that you're talking about. I forget who made the initial pass to Hooper. It was Joe Ledley or somebody, but it's, I was distracted for a second on Twitter. I look up, I'm like, oh, beautiful pass. And then he makes a beautiful pass. I'm like, oh, beautiful pass. And then it gets to Mulgrew. I'm like, no, what are you doing?
Don't pass to him.
Killed it.
I know. But, what? I mean, this is what you're left with when you have a 3-0 victory and you have pretty much the entire game well in hand, and it's.
We're still fighting for this title.
Yes, we are, Kevin. I touched on Mulgrew in the midfield. I mean, I don't think it was any coincidence throughout the first half. All of our attacking endeavor was going down the right-hand flank. I mean, it just seems as though Mulgrew doesn't have the rhythm down, to facilitate when Izzy's trying to overlap with him. I thought Izzy had a very professional game today. Didn't really put a foot wrong. A couple of service opportunities for him. There really wasn't anybody on the end of it, but it was. I mean, mostly one-way traffic with Stokes and Hooper facilitating on the floor. But on the other hand, on the other side of the pitch, Chris Commons, fantastic game today. I was a bit surprised to see him in the starting 11 after the knock that he took last week. I thought it would be, probably a couple weeks. It did look like a sore one. I guess he got a scan and everything was clear. I was too busy paying attention to all the goings on off the park this week, but he really snuck in there and he was fantastic today. No,
definitely. And, it's funny, the way, Yampi was talking about it on Twitter. I was thinking about it yesterday. I know we still got, another 6 games or so to go, not including Scottish Cup games. But I was trying to think, do we have a player of the year yet? And there's definitely guys I would put up there, but wouldn't consider player of the year. But I would think Commons would be in the lead for it now.
He has to be up there. Has to be. I mean, no question, given... to a certain extent what he's done in the Champions League, but I think really where he's proved his mettle and stepped up considerably have been in these SPL ties, the domestic ties where he's turned up when, our forward two don't really quite have their shooting boots on. He was really Johnny on the spot today. He was exactly where he needed to be at the right time and just did what he needed to do. He just put it away. Didn't worry about, making it look good for, the Celtic TV goal of the month.
Right.
I should be doing the voiceover for that. Celtic TV, goal of the month.
I not to get sidetracked, but going on with that a little bit, I would put, maybe my top few, I'd put Forster up there for what he did, in the Champions League and all around. He is solid, and he has won us games. I put Forster up there. Wanyama, I put him up there, not quite as high. I can't see Hooper, although he's done his role. But
Far too inconsistent.
Right. Sammy, again, same thing. He's
in with a shout.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say if he has, a wonderful rest of the season, he's, scoring goals left and right, then, you might have a really good argument. I kind of want Ledley, but I don't think he's shown enough either. He was out for a bit, injured and shit too, so it's not his fault. But so it's last couple of seasons
with no F. Ambrose. I'm just kidding. Yeah. But sorry for interrupting.
No, it seems like the last couple seasons we've pretty much had that one player throughout the majority of the year, and especially by now, who was like, this is gonna, he's the player of the year.
Wow.
And I don't think we really have that this year, so it's kind of like Commons by default. You kind of have to think about it.
Or Victor. I mean, we always I at least in my own opinion, I pass over Victor because, and to a certain extent, it's on the same level as Hooper, where we just sort of expect that sort of thing out of him. So when you're looking at the player who's stepped up, who's really shined outside of what they're, there's a couple of different thought spectrums here, where you can use to form your thinking on who the player of the year is. It's, one is going to be the best player, but, sometimes, at least from speaking for myself, again, I have a tendency to look at, some of the best players and say, right, yeah, but that's what you expect. They did exactly what you expected them to do. They didn't really, step up and shine. And I'm not sure that's 100% fair, on those players. I mean, a player of the year is a player of the year. It's the best player, the player that had the most impact on the season. And but it's hard to sort of take a step back, get some perspective, and evaluate that. But I think Victor falls into that category as well. I mean, there've been so many games, Champions League as well as domestically. Yes, he's come up short in a couple of occasions. Who doesn't? He's a younger player trying to sort of, there've been a lot of different formations that Neil Lennon's thrown out there. I mean, Victor goes in at center half. He's played right back, and of course his more preferred central midfield role, and he's been exceptional really throughout. Like I said, with a couple of exceptions. So I would say, I'm going with Victor. I mean, I see what you're saying with comments, but I would have to go with Victor, for my player of the year at this point. It's almost surprising that he hasn't won it yet. I mean, he's only it feels like he's been here so long. I wake up in the middle of the night with that Victor Wanyama song in my head. I mean, it's always in my head. But he's only been here 2 seasons. Obviously, Charles McGrew, fantastic season last year. And has cooled off somewhat this season, but for me, Victor, I would have to say.
I'm going to hold off total judgment until the end of the year, but I would have to say he's if I had to pick 3 finalists, I would go with Forster, Victor, and Commons.
Yeah, good shout. I would definitely have to put Forster up there as well. He's always one that seems to get forgotten, especially, he picked up the injury in January and has come back and been a bit sluggish at times, maybe foregoing some saves that he should have made, obviously saving some penalties along the way, and that's never going to do is cause any harm. He's really won us points this season, and anytime you have a goalkeeper who can consistently do that like Fraser Forster does, I think he has to be in the conversation for Player of the Year. Although it is, I mean, it's really got to be a resounding performance by a goalkeeper in order to get Player of the Year, and it's probably not the an overwhelming seal of approval for your center half pairing, but
no, that's true, and that seems to be antithetical to the Celtic playing model to begin with, where the goalkeeper isn't really that important of a position.
Well, the onus on the goalkeeper. I mean, historically, we haven't broken the bank for keepers.
Right.
Before Arthur Borch, I mean, it was Paddy Bonner, and then I don't even want to go down the list. I mean, it's just like flashbacks from then until the great Arthur, and then fortunately, I mean, we really caught lightning in a bottle when bringing Fraser Forster up from Newcastle. And, the big Geordie's just been absolutely spectacular. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all develops over the next several weeks. I mean, really the game of any significance left. Games, rather. Let's go ahead and be confident and assume that. It's going to be the Scottish Cup ties. We have a huge game next week coming up against Dundee United. And Dundee United are no mugs. I mean, obviously the last time they came to Celtic Park, 6-2, I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. My eyes do not deceive me. They were crap. And in all fairness, I mean, they were a victim to a Celtic side that was playing some phenomenal football. Obviously, being motivated by my presence, by my being on the touchline before the game.
They wanted to show you that they really got it.
They did. They wanted to, make up for what happened on the previous Tuesday. That I had to watch.
They figured this guy dedicates so many hours of his time watching and doing shows and stuff. Let's repay him a little bit.
This loudmouth, who fancies himself a podcaster and never shuts up and is negative about everything. I mean, let's give him something positive to go home about, so he can stop whining about his runny nose. Oh, I kid my runny nose. But, yeah, I mean, that's really the game of significance. Out with that, I mean, the one of the interesting debates on Twitter after the game now, I mean, obviously we're talking about post-split. The fixtures need to be aligned and announced at this point, is the likelihood that Celtic are not going to have a home tie on the first fixture after the split, which, I mean, Neil Lennon even in his post-game comments today said, it would be great if we could get a home tie. I mean, I think, essentially that seals us away to Ross County.
So, all right, total stupid question, but what the hell does the split do? I mean, I know what it does, but is there, only following Celtic, I never had to give a shit about the bottom 6 teams. So that's what it is, that it splits up the top six and the bottom six, and the top six only play each other. Right?
Yes, exactly right. What happens is essentially. Sorry, I'm just sending out. We got some comment about my opening of my ginger beer. I'm drinking some ginger beer. It's bound to give me some heartburn, I'm sure. I had to getting some feedback on Twitter about that. Yeah, so apologies to all of you podcast purists. Well, essentially what happens is, there's 12 teams, and the top six, bottom six gets separated. So you play 3 games against all of the 12 teams, and then the top 6 only play each other for the remaining 6 ties, and then the bottom 6 play, amongst themselves and duke it out to see who stays in the illustrious SPL. So some drama today with that. It looked like Kilmarnock was going to pip their way into the top 6, and Jackie McNamara and Dundee United saw to it that Kilmarnock go down to the bottom. Oh, so sad. So sad that Kilmarnock goes down. I can't stand them. Can't stand them.
We're still fighting for this title.
Oh, shut up. So Dundee United in the top 6, essentially they're fighting it out for, perhaps a European place to get into those qualifying rounds, and it just simplifies things. It in practice, in theory, well, and it can't have in practice and in theory. In theory, what it tries to do is keep the teams that are fighting for European spots or that top place away from sort of the bottom clubs who are essentially just fighting to stay up. But with so much so much parity and how compact it was right at the middle of the table, that was high drama, and especially considering, if Kilmarnock and Dundee United are on the same points, but goal difference sends Dundee United through, or if we could essentially have a situation where somebody from the bottom 6 has more points than somebody from the top 6, but they don't get as much of an opportunity to compete from that level, and it sort of evens things out, much the same way as sort of our reverse slotting for draft picks. The worst team gets the best pick.
Right.
You don't want the worst teams playing against the best teams, and then just sort of all goes pear-shaped. And you don't want 48 games. So if that wasn't as clear as mud, or if that's if anybody could have come up with a system like this, it's the SPL.
That's true.
No question about it. The Skype lines are open, so if anyone is not at the Bandpop book launch tonight and you're sitting at home having a listen, want to get in touch and share your thoughts on everything that's going on, Craigie White has returned. Want to hear from folks regarding that. What does that mean? What's your interpretation of all of this? His tapes that have come out, is this a good thing? How could it be bad, really? Yeah. Some things that have really been clarified in terms of the state of the zombies of Sevco, and It's exciting times, and no question about it. Also want to reference an appearance that Jeanette Finley had with the Homeboys this past week, which just really continues on the fantastic work that the Homeboys have done lately. With talking to Stevie, and the revelations that he's come out with, the testimony about the meetings that he attended where Peter Lowell made reference to giving the Green Brigade enough rope to hang themselves, which is just absolutely lovely from the leader of the club. We've gone from Brother Walfred, who founded the club. A football club will be established so that underprivileged children can be fed in the East End of Glasgow, to we'll give them enough rope to hang themselves. Okay. Peter Lowell, what a hero. Why and how people still blindly and profusely defend him till the end is beyond me. I'm at a loss. But they do. And, for some people, listen, I'm not going to tell anybody that you're wrong to feel a particular way about the club. If you feel as though Celtic is nothing more than a football club and that's it, that's fantastic. Good, congratulations. Good for you. But I'm not going to I'm not going to come out and tell you you're wrong, but don't come and tell me I'm wrong because I feel as though it is more than a football club. I get the feedback on Twitter and the emails constantly, with these politics has no place in Celtic Park. Really? Because by your saying that statement to me is in and of itself political. And I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. What we have, the situation at hand is that fellow Celtic supporters, whether or not you want to empathize with them, whether or not you're going to, it's completely up to you. But they are being abused. Without any sort of probable cause or provocation. And that was what the demo today was seeking to highlight and call out and demand that this is rectified. What sort of impact do you think this is going to have, Rev? Obviously studying American history, especially 20th century American history, we've gone through movements that have had groups of people, demographics stand up and demand that they have equal rights. We've had it along racial lines. We've had it along sexual preference lines. We're going through this right now. We've had it through gender lines. Women demanding the right to vote. Until 1920, women couldn't vote. Right now we're going through a transitional period for homosexuals, and gay rights. And this is a natural progression, but it doesn't come to you. It's not handed to you. You need to fight for it, and it's not like a one and done. You need to constantly keep fighting. You need to make that argument so that, as I mentioned last week, make that argument so that those who disagree with you, they have to listen. They have to, even if they disagree, they have to listen. And the next time they see, the particular group in peril, be it the gay person, be the black person, be the female, that doesn't have equal rights, they have to look at them and think, what if that was my child? What if that was my son? What if that was my daughter? And that's when empathy strikes. That's when empathy comes in, and that's when progress is made. And I think at the moment we have a lack of empathy. What sort of impact do you think that today's demonstration is going to have, and what needs to happen going forward?
That's tough. I obviously want everything to be resolved as quickly as possible, but I don't think that will happen. I think it will be a long road. At least a month. If you get enough of, the average citizen on your side, that's basically, I think, what you want your goal to be. Pictures today of Motherwell fans there joining the demo, and I think if you can get, supporters from other teams on your side, and then maybe just average citizens who aren't fans of anything, and you get them on your side, then you can actually use the masses to, change, what their, elected representatives, opinions are, to equate that over to like what you're saying here now. The Republican Party, Conservative Party, very much against, gay marriage and everything. And now you see polls coming out where 52% of, the U.S. is for gay marriage and equal rights and et cetera, et cetera. So now all of a sudden you have all these, Republican senators and congressmen just coming out and saying, yeah, I'll vote for it. I'm okay with it. So if, they're politicians, they want to stay in office. So they're going to do whatever the popular thing is. So if you get enough people, that are against the bill, you can, repeal parts of it or the whole thing. And
well, but let's be honest. Politicians and this is universal. It doesn't matter if they're American, Scottish, you name it. They're front runners. They want to be on the right side of history. Nobody wants to be a George Wallace. Nobody wants to be a David Duke. People want to be on the right side of the history. People, especially politicians with the huge egos, they want to be looked at in the history books as being on the right side of history. And when you see such a groundswell, and it's a generational issue where, the young people coming through, 20 years from now, we're going to have to explain to our kids why the hell, people restricted gay people's rights. So politicians want to be looked on, after they're dead and gone as, doing the right thing, even if it was after the fact. But that doesn't happen unless there's a consistent fight. There's a consistent lobbying pressure for it. These demonstrations, I think, are extremely effective, and I'm hoping and praying that they continue. The fantastic work that as I mentioned in the opening, Jeanette Finley, hearing her speak on the Homeboys from this past week. That's a leader. That's what a leader sounds like. That's somebody who evaluates the situation not in terms of what they can get from it, what they can sort of capitalize on, but what it is at the current moment, and right or wrong. You know what I mean? She speaks for the Celtics supporters, not just those who feel as though politics has no place in Celtic Park or whatever. Those people aren't getting hassled. Okay, so they don't need a defender. They don't need a defense. And quite frankly, I think to a certain extent they're enabling a lot of the abuse that the Green Brigade are having. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you agree with the political element of the Green Brigade doesn't give you the right to try and suppress them. It just doesn't. You know what I mean? Just because you have an opinion doesn't make it right. And nobody is telling you that you can't accept. You can't be tolerant. I mean, that's essentially what this is coming down to. It's tolerance or lack thereof. On the form of the police, on the form of the club, on the form of the support who are in my opinion a strong minority, but certainly do speak out in terms of that sort of thing has no place and et cetera, et cetera. What do you make of the continued silence from the club at this point? I mean, serious allegations, alluding to Peter Lawwell essentially setting up the Green Brigade and the quote unquote Dundee riots that didn't actually take place. Still have yet to see any pictures or video. So, anytime you're ready, Peter, we can, take a look at that and sort of confirm what was alleged there. Also, now, after hearing Steven's comments, and there are a lot of blogs that are out there talking about, why would Peter Lawwell want to do this? I mean, it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. And, all these people who say that Peter Lawwell's in on this and wants to, suppress supporters. I mean, that's just nonsense. Well, first thought that I had was going back to Udinese from 2011. Obviously, when we were there in the Europa League, and that was the game when the "Fuck UEFA" banner came up,
right?
And
Udinese away,
exactly. And there was some bother in the crowd, and Peter Lawwell, raised the big stink about it. He came out in the press. Labeled it a disgrace. These people are not Celtic supporters. That this is not what Celtic stands for. Publicly named a person,
right?
A Celtic supporter by the name of Ross Connolly, and it turns out after the fact that he wasn't guilty. He wasn't
even there, if I remember correctly, right?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he was there, but he was publicly named. It turns out that he wasn't guilty. He never attacked the steward. He never had anything to do with the banner, and he was publicly barred from Celtic Park. He was permanently banned from attending Celtic games. And what Jeanette mentioned on the Homeboys midweek was that she obviously announced that Ross Connolly wasn't a member of the Celtic Trust, but she felt, and the trust felt, duty bound to investigate this on behalf of all Celtic supporters. This is an issue that affects us all. We should know what the policy of our board is. So when she went to Celtic about this, and you can listen back to it on the Homeboy Show. I mean, it's compelling. It's about an hour and 20 minutes in, and she said, "Well, have you spoken to the boy?" "Well, no, we haven't. We haven't spoken to him." "Oh, okay. No testimony from him whatsoever. Not allowed to plead his case." So she talked to Ross, about this. He didn't have. So then Celtic were going to take him to civil court. Celtic were going to sue Ross County in civil Ross County, as if Ross Connolly in civil court because it's cheaper for them. So they take him to civil court. He doesn't have enough money to even pay for a lawyer. Jeanette Finley goes back to the club and says, this boy can't even defend himself. He doesn't have enough money for legal defense. And the club's response was tough shit. So we went from a football club will be created to feed the underprivileged children on the east end of Glasgow to tough shit. Mm. So that was my first thought in all this. Why would Peter Lawwell want to do this? Look at his quotes. I mean, not even 24 hours after the Udinese game. He mentioned there is an element of the support. This is a quote I'm reading. This is from a despicable birdcage lining Scottish media outlet that I will not plug. But he says, I quote, "There is an element of the Celtic support that we need to weed out, and we will do so." Okay, so for me, that tells me all I need to know. Okay, Peter Lowell has referred to them as having 300 members, and by them I mean the Green Brigade, which the Green Brigade has been on the Homeboys as well. Part of the, again, this is the Homeboys loving tonight, but part of the fantastic work. They had the Green Brigade members on. They said there's about 80 members who are still free to walk the streets, not incarcerated or pending litigation. So let's go with Peter's overestimation, though, just to be conservative. Let's say they have 300 members. In Peter Lowell's mind, he says, you know what? If I get rid of those 300 people and the club isn't, represented in any sort of political way, I'm not going to take that. You know what? That's a hit to the season books that I'm willing to take. And, the Celtics supporters are so loyal that if we do banish them, that everybody's going to be back anyway. But if he does, now let's analyze every angle here. If he does banish the Green Brigade outright, he just says, no more 111, no more Green Brigade, get him out. There's going to be a backlash. No question about it. People are going to ask questions. People are going to wonder why. He's going to come into scrutiny. That's where the whole "will give them enough rope to hang themselves" quote comes in. He needs a clever way to get the support. I mean, this is the same thing that he's trying to do to us that we're trying to do to the population in general, get them on our side so that we can affect change with this litigation. Peter Lowell is trying to get the CSA, the affiliation, and other representative groups on his side in terms of the Green Brigade is bad. Which, okay, let's play sort of objective here. Okay, let's be completely unbiased. If the Green Brigade are going through and they're doing illegal things every week, if they're letting off flares, if they're burning things down, if they're destroying the place, if there's violence and so on and so forth, then there's a certain line you have to draw. But if it's coming down to they sing songs that I don't like and it represents the club in a way that I don't like, I being Peter Lowell, then I'm sorry, that's not his call to make. In my mind, that's not his call to make. He can't tell us as the supporters how we support our club. He can't tell us what we can think and believe and sing and how we come and cheer. That's not his.
This is where you can use that argument that, people who are saying that the Green Brigade shouldn't be idolized or martyred or anything like that, where they say no one person is bigger than the club. Well, this is that exact same, mindset in reverse.
Exactly right.
Peter Lowell is not in charge of the club. He's in charge of the PLC, the company. He's not in charge of the team, the support, the club, in that aspect where he can dictate, how people support the team. The club is the people.
Exactly.
That's like the 8th time I've said the people today, and it's really starting to piss me off, but you know what I mean.
As long as you don't say "ruh people."
Right.
No, I mean, you're exactly right. Peter Lowell doesn't, he is not Celtic. Just like these, to your point, these people that say the Green Brigade are not Celtic, well, neither is Peter Lowell, and he's not going to tell me how I'm going to support this club. And if I want to sing the Soldier song, I'm singing the fucking Soldier song. Peter. And you can't tell me otherwise. I respect the fact that you have an idea of what Celtic means to you. That's fine. Everybody does. But don't tell me that my way is wrong. And if I don't comply with your way, you're going to lock me up. Or you're going to facilitate me getting locked up. That gets into the Dundee riot, or lack thereof. Him calling and finding out how many tickets were purchased from 111 for that Dundee away tie. Finding out their names and numbers. I mean, it's very, very coincidental on the same day and in the same meeting when he's sitting down with Ronnie Hawthorne, pointing out specific fans, right, he's got to go. The ginger-haired one. Ronnie Hawthorne, by the way, he walked right by me. He's got ginger hair. A self-hating ginger. I'm sorry. I'm not having it. And that's what's at stake here. The board remains silent, not because they're not hearing us. They're listening. They're remaining silent because they don't have a card to play. And they're hoping that this dies down.
No, that's exactly it. Their silence is very telling, and you know, you want to say innocent until proven guilty and pleading the fifth and all that stuff, but them not saying anything is saying volumes.
Exactly right. Leaving enough rope to hang themselves. That's essentially Peter Lawwell saying, right, I can't touch the Green Brigade right now because of the backlash. So I'll let them show their ass, and then the rest of the support will turn on them. Well, Stephen Kearney has made sure that that's never going to happen now, and it's backfired right into his face. So if you had no questions about the morals of the Celtics CEO, I think you really need to investigate this. And if you still have questions after hearing this testimony, then you need to have a look at yourself, because you're fooling yourself. I mean, this has been corroborated time and again. Jeanette Finley talking about their exchange with the club. The club don't give a shit. They don't. And what you ask yourself, why would Peter Lawwell do this? It's the classic case of emotion getting the best of you. This is an emotional issue for Peter Lawwell. I
don't understand why.
He wants Celtic to be a certain way, to be represented a certain way, to be perceived a certain way. He feels as though the Green Brigade, with their left-wing politics and their the Irish song sheet. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, this is a Celtic administration that wants nothing to do with anything associated with Irishness. Aside from the good folks who travel over on buses from Ireland.
You can take a bus from Ireland to Scotland?
Yeah, they drive the buses on boats, Rev. They don't have,
I know. Well, I mean, if that's the case, if they want to separate themselves or distance themselves, why put out, the Fenian track jacket or, the away kit this year?
Come on, Rev. You know why they did that.
No, I know, but it's...
They want to play both sides. But exactly. They want to play both sides of the fence every single time. Look at that. I got in my den right now. I got the picture of the display at the Barcelona game. They're happy to capitalize on that. Have the Green Brigade come out and bust their ass, spend their time and their money and their effort on making one of the best displays of 2012 in any football ground, and then sell pictures of it for £40 a piece. They're happy to do that. They're happy to capitalize on anything that could be financially lucrative for the club if it has Irishness. But if it has something that the Scottish media is going to furrow their brow at, singing the Irish national anthem, or singing Roll of Honor. I mean, there was a kid who was locked up last week at St. Mirren for singing, a religious hymn on Easter Sunday.
Really? I didn't hear about that.
He's in the bathroom. He's singing a religious hymn, and he was locked up. This is where it's going. Okay. The other issue that I have with this is we're seeing a sliding scale. Now, Rev, let me ask you: when's the last time you saw pyro coming from the Green Brigade, or at Celtic? I mean, first off, I don't remember ever seeing pyro from the Green Brigade at Celtic Park. Maybe there has, and it's been so long that I can't remember. But that in and of itself, I think, speaks volumes. But even going back to away games, you heard some of the bangers going off at Dundee. But then again, how are you going to label everybody at an away ground to be Green Brigade when there's thousands of Celtic supporters there and there's only 80 Green Brigade members? So now you're going to hold the Green Brigade responsible for any sort of mischief that happens in an away ground? Please. The Green Brigade have moderated considerably in terms of the song sheet, the songs that are played or that are sang at Celtic Park. None of them are. You don't hear "Gone British Soldiers" or you don't hear like "Roman and the Gloamin'." You don't hear any of the you don't hear like "Bring 'Em Home." I mean, there's plenty of Celtic songs and they're singing them. I barely remember hearing the Soldier song. I think they sung it today, but I mean, it's the exception anymore.
Right. No, you're right. I did hear. I mean, not to nitpick, but I do remember hearing "Bring Them Home" at least once this year, and Twitter erupted, and it was a couple months ago. But I get what you're saying, and I agree. It's they've and I agree with the sliding scale where they've pushed back, or depending on how you want to look at it, the Green Brigade has made concessions.
Absolutely.
And then once, now it's like, okay, well now you have to give more.
Right, and that's exactly it. More. There hasn't been the other side, be it Focus, be it the police, be it Peter Lawwell, have failed to moderate with the Green Brigade. And that's in the spirit of fairness. That's what you'd expect. They wanted them to tone down their song sheet. By all accounts, they have. So now, just hey, put your hands up and say, fair dues, on you go. Keep up the good work. Keep doing that. That's fine. But this continuation of allowing the police to come in and stop them at the turnstiles and ban certain people for random reasons, giving out their home information, so they can shop their door at 6 a.m.
or work.
And the board getting caught in half truths. It's talking about. They release on their website, oh, we would never give out, our supporters information. And then it comes out that, actually they had, and then they release something on their website. Well, we would never do that unless the police asked for it. Okay.
Hand in the cookie jar.
Right. And was there a warrant produced to get any of that information? Because unless there's a warrant, they don't have to turn over anything.
Unless they want to.
So I'm sorry. You listen, I've been told that I have an anti-Lawwell bias. More than once. And that's fine. Listen, if that's your impression of, where this is coming from, then so be it. But it's not without reason.
I have an anti-Celtic bias. That's what it comes down to. If after you met him in Philly, you kind of gave him, fair dues for a little bit until this broke out, So that's, to your credit, it's, and I could say I'm the same way, where I'm, I don't have a Peter Lawwell bias, but since his methods are generally, anti, the Celtic support and what, the average, not even the average supporter, but, the typical supporter, what they want and what they want to do, since it's against that, then, that's, it just, that's the answer right there for how you feel.
We're still fighting for this title.
Yes, we are, Kevin. Yeah, we've had several. We've had a podcast. We've had several blogs come out. It's the usual suspects. The folks who like the cozy sort of gifts, the access, so on and so forth to the board. So they need to keep their powder dry. Well, not me. I really don't give a shit. It's not about my access or ambition or anything else. Okay, when I see misdeeds, I respond to them. I don't have any sort of regard for what my personal status is and how my speaking out on it would sort of affect my status. I don't give a shit. When I see Celtic supporters being abused, and that's what the Green Brigade are, whether or not you agree with their politics or how they present it, the Green Brigade are Celtic supporters. And as such, they deserve my respect. And if they're being done wrong, they deserve my support. Full stop. I'm sorry. That's just me having a conscious, bleeding heart liberal, and I'm just overly empathetic. But when it comes to Celtic, that's what I feel is a core value. Being tolerant and standing up for what's right against what's wrong, and that's what I'm seeing right now. And the folks who want to write blogs saying that people like myself are have this rebellious nature that just needs an excuse to look rebellious, I think that you might take a lesson from some of these politicians who are having an about face and have a think about how you're going to be perceived.
Do I ever want to have to say something bad about Celtic? Of course not. Anytime, whether it's discussing with fellow supporters, whether it's discussing with people who might have a little interest or are fans of the sport and they want to know more. I want to be able to say nothing but good things about every aspect regarding the club. And it hurts if I can't do that. When
but separate the club from the PLC.
Right. But, when people ask, about, for example, the Barcelona game and the display, and, people say, oh, is that a regular occurrence? Tell me more about, the ultra scene that they have. And it's like, you for me, at least, it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, it's there, but at the same time, it's being squashed and they're fighting back. It's, I try to be, as nice about it as possible, but like, I kind of almost feel like I'm lying because, I obviously I talk well about, the Green Brigade, but then to say that, those in charge are trying to stop that from happening. And when you hear yourself say that, or when you're thinking that, and you're like, why the hell would they be like that? Look at all the attention, positive attention that they're garnering across the world, and they're trying to stamp that out because of some ill-conceived, proper business aspect notion that they have.
Well, that's exactly what it is, though, Rev. It's their impression of how the club should be, regardless of a good display or whatever. They've made their minds up that the Green Brigade are hurtful towards the club and the image that they want the club to have. So therefore, they must be eliminated.
I can't get down with that.
No, I can't either.
It's inconceivable.
Yeah, I
know what that word means.
Well, I mean, it's one thing to not get that, and that's fine. I mean, if that's your opinion, that's fine. But don't then turn around and tell me that I'm wrong when I'm not going out and telling them they're wrong. I'm not going out and seeking out people who Paul Lee likes to call soup takers, and tell them that they're wrong. For thinking the Celtics only a football club. I'm not tweeting them. But I get all sorts of abuse if I go off on rants like this. Politics has no place in Celtic Park. Oh, really? Because you're being political, just by saying that. Peter Lowell saying that the Green Brigade and what they want to sing are not allowed, that is inherently political. So, this idea that politics can't have a place in Celtic Park, in addition to being incredibly intolerant, which, to my opinion and my purview, is anathema to what it means to be a Celtic supporter. But in addition to that, it's also completely misguided. That's an opposing political view. So write all the blogs you want, really. But like I said earlier, just be mindful of how you are going to be looked at down the road. Because, like I said before, this is a sliding scale, okay? It started off with can't sing Republican songs. Then it came up with you can't sing religious songs. Can't sing a religious song on Easter Sunday. You can't have pyros. You can't have banners. And now it's getting to the point where you can't even walk down the street without being kettled. So just notice the progression here. There is a trajectory. And you have to ask yourself when it's going to stop. Because if they eliminate the Green Brigade, what's next? Because I didn't see pictures of Green Brigade members sobbing. I'm sure that little girl who was caught up in the middle of the kettling wasn't a member of the Green Brigade, sobbing. So just think about if that was your daughter or if that was your son that got beaten to a pulp by out of control Strathclyde police officers who put on their Facebook pages that they're pest control and their primary mission is patrolling outside Celtic Park. Ask yourself what that means in the long term, and then have a think, look at yourself in the mirror, and rethink your position that I'm just the rebellious type looking for a mission to be rebellious about.
I just had an awesome idea, and I'm hoping I'm the first one to say it because I kind of want to feel special like that. But
a Beyond the Waves exclusive.
What about Tommy and Glasgow getting Peter Lawwell on the line?
Would you please pass the jelly?
That would be amazing.
I mean, it's all of his body of work has all done with the former Rangers and everything, and Newco. But this might be one of those times.
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem, because with Tommy's, all of the success that Tommy's had recently is probably going to be his Achilles heel, because now everybody knows what he sounds like.
No, that's true.
And Peter Law isn't the type. I mean, look. I wanted to get to Fran Sandaza at some point, but Fran Sandaza doesn't know what the hell Tommy sounds like. To Fran Sandaza, everybody in Glasgow sounds exactly the same. I mean, and to a certain extent, Craig White probably has the same sort of mentality, although he's just a complete and utter buffoon. But Peter Law is not a buffoon. He's not. He has misguided principles and ethics and a misguided vision for what the club should be and how to get there. But he's not a buffoon. He's a very, very smart person. And he's not gonna fall for that. Maybe he will, I don't know. I mean, Tommy's no dummy either. But that would be interesting. But I mean, in the absence, I think we have, everything we need in terms of an advocate like Jeanette Finley. I can't sing her praises enough. At times like this, you need a leader. You need someone who's going to step up and be the voice that unites. And I think that's Jeanette. She's come under a lot of criticism from some folks who who have podcasts and loads of followers on Twitter and want to, espouse all of their followers on Twitter to say that they are more influential. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, that's rubbish. All the podcasts and all the articles that you do on your blog do nothing to support innocent Celtic supporters that are abused by police. So, take your comfy seats and all the treats that the board throw to you, but, you can't light a candle to Jeanette Finley in terms of leadership and in terms of representing the supporters. So, yeah, that's pretty much that. Getting back to, the demo, and obviously what they're demonstrating against is the offensive behavior bill that came through the Scottish Parliament last year. How any piece of legislation like this can come through is absolutely beyond me, and it's terrifying when you take a look at the prospect of Scottish independence. I mean. I really don't have an opinion on it. I mean, I'm not Scottish. I can see both sides, sort of the pro and the con in terms of Scotland getting its independence and what that could possibly mean. I mean, there is an element of nervousness, with the SNP. If they, I think we're joined by a caller here. I'll finish the thought later. Joining us now is Chris Kuyava. Chris, are you at the Bandpub book launch?
I am indeed, Graham, yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much for calling in. Tell us, give us a sense for what the atmosphere is like and just describe it for us. How are things going there?
Oh, it's the usual kind of atmosphere. Everybody's up for it tonight. Paul's been on, done his reading, told a few stories, raised the roof as usual, got a bit of pelters and gave it right back again. Fantastic stuff.
What's it like that you're at the CSA on London Road? I mean, is it just absolutely jam packed? Are people feeling elated? Not just from the game today, but also from the demo. I mean, is there a positive vibe generally?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. There's definitely a positive vibe. I mean, I couldn't make the demo myself this morning.
Yeah.
But I know there was about 3,000-4,000 have been quoted there today.
Yeah.
It's a good few people here today were at that demo. Obviously, the game itself, that was enjoyable. It was the brief moment. Well, we took the Mike Country title today, but unfortunately, James McFadden's ruined that wee bit a bit.
Ball bag.
No, I don't think anybody's disappointed today about that. I think everybody's happy. It's a good game. We're all here to enjoy ourselves tonight, and it's going to be a good night. I think Huddersfield are due on in about 45 minutes.
Fantastic stuff. So, who are some of the attendees tonight? Name and shame. Who's really on their game tonight? I mean, who's showed up and is up for it? And I mean, are there different pockets of Tim's lining up and who are sort of some of the cliques, or is it just intermingling all over the place?
That's pretty much intermingling. I mean, anybody that's anybody in the internet forum that could possibly be here tonight seems to be here. I could point out that I don't want to be feeding the rumour mill here, but just as I was coming out to call you, I happened to pass Shevchenko and Willie Keane, and Willie Keane was playing with his fly. I don't know where those two have been.
Oh dear. That's okay. Nobody's listening.
I'm actually sat here right now with another of our Hail Media colleagues. I'm here with Josh Gaffney. Would you like to speak to him?
Not really. Who else do you have? No, I'm kidding. Put Josh. Put Josh on. Let's talk to him.
Hello.
There is the Gaffer. Gaffer, how are you? How many beers have you had?
Not many beers. More Morgans than spiced.
Ah, lovely. So how's the day treating you? I mean, obviously this has been, a consummation of different Bam Pop book launches. You've seen your profile get raised. Do you think tonight might be the night where, you can whip into the telephone booth and come out and be like super gaff? Is tonight going to be your night?
Well, the chances are, maybe quite good tonight, but we'll see.
Fantastic. Eloquent as ever. Josh, thank you so much. What were your thoughts on the game today? I mean, a lot more to be positive about. Just couldn't put our chances away in certain circumstances, but can't argue with the scoreline, right?
I thought it was a good game. Probably could have got a few more goals if we just been a bit more clinical with chances. But the last home game I was at was Rowan against Aberdeen, so it was definitely an improvement over that. But I still don't think we're totally over the issues that have kind of been plaguing our side over the last few weeks. But it definitely was a slight improvement.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, I would agree to a certain extent in terms of the issues, that we've been sort of, lethargic at times. How much of an impact is James Forrest going to have when he comes back in? Because for me, I think he's really been an integral part and sort of the key piece that's been missing for us. What are your thoughts there?
Well, we've seen today our two wingers was Chris Commons and Charlie Mulgrew.
Charlie Mulgrew, yeah.
And neither of them are actual proper wingers.
I wouldn't call. First off, I'm sorry to cut you off. I wouldn't call Charlie Mulgrew a winger. I'd call him a flinger.
Yeah. Neither of them are proper wingers. Chris Commons, he prefers to play centrally, and Charlie Mulgrew, he's obviously a left back or self-defender. And neither of them will have the kind of burst of pace to really get behind the defence. We've seen that today against Hibs. All of our goals came through, really the centre.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, and it was great to see. I mentioned earlier it was great to see Hooper and Stokes linking up. When the two of them are on form, I mean they're just unstoppable. Keeping it on the floor and finding that space in behind the defense. We saw that on several times. He just couldn't put the chances away.
Yeah. So James, if we can get James Forrest back on the side, or next season get an all-pace winger, and I think we definitely see a new Celtic.
No question about it. Gaff, thank you so much. Listen, let me remind you, okay? You're a big bear, all right? You're a big bear with claws, okay? And these birds, they're just little bunnies. And you're just batting the buddies around, all right? You're a bad man. All right?
All right.
Listen, hey, eye contact is key. Go get him. All right, all right, who else is there? Pass the phone to somebody else.
Well, Lorenzo said hi, but he's away.
Oh, all right. Well, tell Lorenzo I said hello, and it's going to be too long until I see you again.
No problem. I'll hand you back to Chris.
All right, fantastic.
Hello.
Chris. What are they? It sounds like Sammy showed up. Are they breaking plates?
Yeah. He showed up for a bit, yeah.
Fantastic. Head and shoulders for everybody. Great stuff. Listen, make sure that the gaffer doesn't get.
It's been a. It would have been nice if they won the league today, but I think the goal difference alone pretty much clinches it.
Yeah.
She wants to be champions tonight.
Yep, champions elect. Listen, pal, have a great night tonight. Make sure that the gaffer doesn't get attacked by too many women. All right. Look out for him. I think we lost him.
They ran away.
They got away. Yep, that's them. All right. thank you so much to Chris Kuyava of the Paradise Report of Tony Whoa fame for calling in and giving us a bit of the atmosphere, a bit of the flavor. It's nice to get a little of the flavor. All right, good stuff. So, as we're talking about with independence and segueing right back on in, with independence on the cusp here for Scotland. I mean, there's a couple different ways that you can perceive it. I mean, there's certain things to be fearful of, and of course there's loads to be positive about. And the logic is it doesn't matter how bad the SNP is at this point. You can always vote them out later. Just make sure that we get the independence at this point. But I mean, there are some really troubling characteristics that come from the SNP, and I know that I'm treading in dangerous waters here. I really don't care. I mean, these are facts, and and I just deal in facts, Rev. But I mean, let's look at who is really to blame for this bill being in existence. Who brought this bill out? It wasn't just like the evil Scottish Parliament. One person that I've highlighted on Twitter this morning, and who I will continue highlighting until she is voted out, or she is shamed, or she, has an about face, like many of our misguided politicians here sometimes do, inevitably do, when it's the last resort, is Christine Graham, MSP, member of the Scottish National Party, SNP. She's the convener of the the Justice Committee, and she is essentially the one who facilitated this through. And there was all sorts of testimony, and I've read through it. The official reports from Scottish Parliament, because I'm pathetic. And it's shocking when you go through and when you find out what the logic is, and in terms of how, after all of that, they still went through with it. I mean, it's clear that their mind was made up that this needed to be done sooner rather than later. I mean, some of the more troubling aspects of this, I mean, Christine Graham suggested that one of the intentions of the offensive behavior at football matches bill, I mean, please, let's start with a name. Offensive behavior at the football matches bill. I mean, that's like, single-digit IQ level stuff. I mean, please. Rev, you could come up with a better name than that. I could. We're not even legislators. But one of the intentions was to ensure that police can arrest Celtic fans in equal numbers to what historically had happened with Rangers fans. Now, much testimony then came through in terms of, well, why is it that Celtic fans aren't arrested with the same rates and the same numbers? This is her. This is her as the convener of the Justice Committee asking questions such as, why do Rangers supporters get arrested more than Celtic supporters? Well, one of the conclusions, aside from the fact that they are a hateful, warlike, nasty scumbag people, Huns, is that under the laws from the 2003 bill, you can be punished by engaging in sectarian acts. So that begged the question of what is sectarian and what is not sectarian. So the testimony from numerous experts was that Rangers supporters typically, when they act out in an anti-Catholic sort of way, which would be deemed to be sectarian. Whereas, and her response to that was, well, Celtic supporters sing pro-IRA songs, which to a certain extent is true. But the response then was, well, Celtic supporters singing IRA songs or establishing solidarity with Irish causes is not inherently sectarian. It's political. So the reason why Celtic supporters don't get arrested in the same numbers as Rangers supporters is because they engage in political activity, not sectarian activity, as was suggested by the media, the authorities, and so on and so forth, and then sort of kowtowed to by our current board. So, okay, now that we established that, we're not sectarian. Hey, fantastic. We're just political. Well, how are we going to even things up then? That was Christine Graham's next intention or question. That's where the offensive behavior at football matches was born. So if we can't call it sectarian, we got to call it something. Well, I'm offended. It's offensive. So if you sing this political these political songs, then that's offensive to me. I mean, essentially, this is a basic human right that is violated through the verbiage of this law. So when people want to tell me that the Green Brigade are rascals and they break the law, well, I'm sorry, but one of the key functions of civil disobedience is ignoring ridiculous laws, which this clearly is. So don't judge me or anybody else who wants to highlight the stupidity of a particular law by displaying exactly why it's so stupid. You know, if you're not on board, then that's fine, but just get out of the way. Because it's not going to stop here. Now, to further complicate the situation, it was then also found out that Christine Graham, ironically enough, had a staffer by the name of Mark Hurst, who worked for her for 2 different periods, totaling a total of 9 years. He was then sacked in 2011 for gathering information without consent. Some people call that fact finding, but you know, I mean, facts they're a tricky species. But he then, after he was let go, accused Christine Graham of holding deeply sectarian views in relation to Catholics, as well as being racist and homophobic. This testimony, by the way, is available on the Celtic Trust website, celtictrust.net, and is compiled from several different media sources. And you can find all of this out there. It's called Google. And it's not Google Eye. Don't get it confused with Google Eye. That's Charlie Green's pet name for Craigie White. It's just Google. So you go to google.com, you can find all this stuff out. So some of the allegations that Mr. Hurst was pointing towards Christine Graham was Christine Graham was influenced negatively in relation to a number of pieces of legislation by whatever position the Catholic Church took. Think about that for a second. The Catholic Church takes a position on any sort of issue, and that compels Christine Graham to act. This is a person who then crafts a bill saying that offensive behavior at football matches is inherently designed to even things up between Celtic supporters and Rangers supporters. If this doesn't get your blood boiling listening to this, then I suggest you get a defibrillator. He goes on to say that there was an issue with Margaret MacDonald's end-of-life bill, talking about end-of-life issues and you know how to sort of deal with decision-making for that sort of thing. I don't want to get off on a tangent with that. But Christine Graham responds to Margaret MacDonald's testimony with well, there was a situation where Mike Rumbles, who was another member of this the committee, suggests that an ad hoc committee needs to be set up to scrutinize this end-of-life bill, which apparently she had some sort of feeling towards. But anyway, Christine Graham says in front of witnesses, referring to Mike Rumbles, it's because he's a fucking Catholic. Mm-hmm. In quotes. Okay, so now what we have is she is quoted to say with numerous witnesses, it's because he, in parentheses, Mike Rumbles, is a fucking Catholic. Okay. She makes decisions on many of her lawmaking activities on a position that the Catholic Church takes. Then she comes up with an offensive behavior act in football after asking why Celtic supporters aren't locked up with the same frequency and level as Rangers supporters. Is it all starting to make sense for you now? Your thoughts, Rev?
I guess they just assume people don't pay attention, and to their begrudging credit, they're right. Most people don't pay attention to politics and laws and bills, et cetera, et cetera. But when you do, and you look at this, it couldn't be any more clear and obvious and enraging. And the fact that it's, someone basically putting forth a bill and when when their own prejudices, whatever, are what's behind it. And it should enrage everyone. And the fact that this is someone who is a representative, of a constituency of people who this, obviously people that would agree with her voted for her, and I'm sure people that this bill would affect and her prejudices are against, voted for her. And that's wholly disheartening.
Well, and that goes back to the folks who want to say that, the Green Brigade needs to observe the law. The law says offensive behavior, is punishable, and it's completely objective. I mean, it's completely subjective, and it's at the discretion of the police. So they can essentially, as we talked about when this bill was being proposed, and now in practice, they can pull anybody for any reason because it may be deemed offensive. And this goes back to, any sort of totalitarian state. When they first get into power and they try and stamp out any sort of political groundswell of anybody on an opposing level, and it's quite frightening that this is quite clearly on a religious level. I'm not going to go back. It's obvious. If you go back just to the 20th century, there are numerous examples of regimes, totalitarian regimes that would come in and try and stamp out any sort of opposing political belief, especially based on religious aspects. That's a dangerous, frightening slope to go down. So, with Celtics supporters being on the receiving end of that, I think it's imperative that we all step up, make ourselves aware of that, educate ourselves on what this means. And, if you want to call people out for violating the law, and this law especially, then you need to be aware of the fact that it comes from someone who is an alleged racist, an allegedly homophobic, certainly anti-Catholic, sectarian in and of themselves, and is seeking to create laws that, quote-unquote, even things up between the misbehavior of Rangers supporters and what is going on with Celtics supporters. And if you're wondering why I bring up Celtics supporters, it's because that's what she commented on in her testimony. It wasn't, why are Rangers supporters being locked up at a greater propensity to other teams? Why are Rangers supporters being locked up with a greater frequency to Aberdeen supporters or with a greater frequency to Dundee United supporters? It was Rangers, and she pointed out Celtic. She didn't point out any other team. So this isn't Timmy being paranoid. It's all there for you. Scottish Parliament.
Focusing on the symptom and not the problem. And I'm not saying that Celtic are a problem or a symptom, but if you're using Sevco supporters as the problem, and she, it's a backwards way. Yeah, you're not going to even things up, the right way, because it isn't even, it isn't equal. There is a reason why there's a disproportionate number of arrests and offenses. And, the way, to go around and mold the law to affect others, I don't know anything about her. I don't know if her family supports the team or has supported the team that used to exist or something like that, or she's just straight up bigoted and is using the sport as a vehicle to push her prejudice upon, those who are of the persuasion she doesn't like.
And this isn't us calling her bigoted because she came up with this bill. It's right there. She said these things. And she alluded to a lot of this testimony right in the Scottish Parliament official reports. The dialogue is there for you. It was right at Holyrood. in front of people and cameras. You can get it on YouTube. Educate yourselves. This isn't a well-meaning body that is maybe perhaps just a bit misguided. These laws have been developed to oppress you. Which,
that I can at least understand. I can get, where you have, older people, politicians that are they don't see the whole picture. They just see, broad violence in the street, or, what they perceive to be broad violence, and then just just pass some lame bill to try to stamp out everything, and it's not directed at one particular group, or subconsciously directed at one particular group. You know what I mean? So they're just like, oh, young people in the streets, we got to take care of this. This isn't that you can kind of understand, but still disagree with. But this is most definitely directed at a certain group of people.
Yeah, it's us. And if you are predisposed to bowing your head and just sort of going along with it so as to not create trouble, then that's fine. But get out of our way, please. Because there's a sizable amount of people who are not going to accept this, as was evidenced today in George Square. And I hope that Jeanette Finley continues the great work that she's done, because it's going to have to continue to happen. And the board is not going to be there for us to facilitate this. And I'm not going to apologize for holding the board responsible for this. The question comes at me, what do you want the board to do? Well, I certainly don't want them to enable these policies of enforced gentrification. Targeting football supporters, specifically Celtic supporters, specifically kids, to be harassed, to be beaten. And the board says nothing about it. Oh, we're going to meet with the police. Oh, okay. Well, that was 2 weeks ago? I haven't heard a peep about any meeting that they had with the police. I haven't heard any answers. I haven't been reassured whatsoever that this is never going to happen again. And Peter Lowell wants to have this attitude that the Green Brigade have to go, or we have an element. I mean, this is what Peter Lowell said. I quote, "We have an element in this support that we need to weed out." Now, you can look around and say, well, he's not talking to me. But I have to ask you, number one, what did the people who he's trying to weed out, what did they do wrong? Number two, what if that was your son or daughter and they hadn't done anything wrong? Like Ross Connolly, who was essentially, if you type in Ross County, if you type in Ross Connolly, Celtic fan, into Google right now, not Google into google.com. Just awful things come up. The first 6, 7, 8 pages. Ross Connolly spent a night in jail, attacked a steward, lit off flares, held up banners. You would think that Ross Connolly, sacked and pillaged half of Italy that night, and he wasn't guilty of any of it. And Celtic had never retracted any of the statements that they made in error, besmirching the kid's name, and they felt no obligation to do so because they knew that he didn't have the resources to defend himself. When Jeanette Finley went back to them and said that he didn't have the money to be able to defend himself, they said tough shit.
And with him, like you say, put his name in, and this is what comes up. And it seems to me, this is true everywhere, but it seems more especially over there that your online and your digital footprint, your online persona, is a lot stronger, to the point where, Josh Gaffney can go and tweet something offensive and the police can show up at his door. Where if I say the exact same thing over here, people may be mad, but, no one does anything to me. So now this guy's life can potentially be ruined because,
exactly.
Employers might not want to employ him because look at the awful things he's done.
Exactly. And Celtic haven't done anything to retract that or to correct the record or anything. Nothing. No, that whole story was lost in all of the hysteria around Rangers dying, and everybody forgot about it. But what if your son was Ross Connolly? Your brother was Ross Connolly, or your mate. and he was done like this. Where's Russ Connolly's voice in all this? That's my question. Are people who are calling out Jeanette Finley for how many Twitter followers she has, are they looking out for Russ Connolly? Do they give a damn about Russ Connolly? And then you have to ask yourself, what is this board doing to fight against this bill, to fight against these principals who are bringing bills like this, who seek to cause the Celtics support bother by creating bills like this? All they're doing is kowtowing to it, bowing their heads, vowing to weed out a segment of supporters. For what? Because they had a banner. Because they sang a song. I mean, Rev, think about that. Think about like the Jersey State Police coming at you and arresting you for a banner or because you sang a song.
It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, not to detract too much, but I mean, there have been sort of similar instances.
It's because the Jersey State Police are dicks.
Well, no, I won't disagree with you there, but I mean, it's local PD that deals with games, but I get what you're saying. I don't know
what happened. Tell us.
No, just stupid shit over the years. Or
what? Give me an example. The cops come in and what? What happens?
They, okay. Well, one of the biggest instances was back at the old stadium at Giants Stadium. It was I think it was the David Beckham game, one of the first, like the second or third one where it's the whole stadium sold out. 65, 70,000 people. It was a hot summer day. You could only get tickets if you were a season ticket holder, which I wasn't at that time, so I was at home. But what happened was there's a banner, something, and back at Giant Stadium, you couldn't have banners on flagpoles. They could only be, like, held up. So somebody had, because it's a weapon when the cops come in. So someone had it on.
I will slay you with my banner!
Yeah, with my, quarter-inch PVC piping.
Oh.
So...
Okay, but it didn't have to do with what was written on the banner.
No, it did. It did.
What was written on the banner?
I honestly, I don't remember. It's like 2009. I honestly couldn't tell you.
Drugs are bad, kids.
No, I wasn't there, so I don't. I didn't watch it.
Oh my God, are you Christine Graham?
No, but they came in to remove the banner.
Okay.
And they said, because it was on the pole, they came in mass.
Uh-huh.
And one of the security guys elbowed the girl, in the face. Because,
right. Yeah, you told us this story, and then somebody came down and tried to beat the cop because he elbowed the girl, and then he got taken away, and
right.
Yeah.
So it could have been one person doing the, just, all right, give it here, sweetheart, type of thing.
So the moral of the story is Jersey cops are dicks.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But, there's been other stupid things. I mean, this isn't related to anything, the freedom of speech type stuff. But at the game last week that I went to, we usually do our march, and a friend was driving his car. The guy that's actually in charge of our supporters club was driving his car right behind everybody. So I jumped on the back of his car, and I was standing, me and somebody else were standing on the back, and we're just, chanting along and stuff. And local PD rolls up, and, they're telling us, if we don't get off the back of the car, mind you, we're going at walking pace, like a half a kilometer, Well,
wait. You're riding around in the car, like on the back of the car? What is this, Teen Wolf?
Yes, actually. No, just like it was a hatchback,
Okay.
so it's got a little bit of a larger bumper and
yeah,
fake rack thing on the top to hold on to. So me and somebody else, and
you got to love a fake rack.
Yeah. And he's just, he's going pacing with us with the in the cop car, and he's just saying like, oh, get down there, we'll arrest you, and we'll make sure you're banned from getting into the game. And we're like, what's going on? Like, we pretty much have free reign, and
You can't ride on the back of a car unless you're in it, Rev.
Okay, well, his reasoning was, if I fall off the back,
He'll run him over.
I'll get run over by the car.
Well, you will.
Well, aside from the facts of the laws of physics, that's impossible. But
We're still fighting for this title.
All right, Rev. I'm glad that you didn't fall off and get run over. But the thing that I want to see from this board, which is never going to happen, I'd like to see a pig fly. I mean, it would be kind of cool. Not for any sort of particular purpose or reason, but
Gilmore just went to Philly. Oh.
No, I mean, I want them to step up and to speak out and to show some sort of empathy with the fans, that they acknowledge, we know you're going through a rough time. This is wrong, okay? And we're with you. At this point, it's like, here's an email. If you have a gripe, send it over, and we'll take a look at it. Oh, and then we'll meet with the police, and then we'll never tell you about it. We'll just wait for it to blow over, and you'll forget about it. I mean, look at Hull City is their supporters are going through something similar where they're being targeted by East Yorkshire police.
Yep. Do you see the shirts that they have?
East Yorkshire. Hey up, East Yorkshire police. Got these bloomin' t-shirts. They're white and they've got a. And anyway, yes, Rev pointed out the t-shirts that the players are wearing. Watching football is not a crime. I'll retweet it right now so that you can see. You can follow some BTW Celtic show. But I mean, you never imagine Celtic players coming out with a t-shirt that says something in solidarity with the fans. You'd never imagine the Celtic releasing statements like Hull City have released over the past several weeks. I mean, there's this cleansed atmosphere that's like risk averse to the point where there's just an unimaginable disconnect between the support and the PLC. And it was corroborated by Jeanette Finley this past week, and it's depressing, to be honest with you. We're now joined by a gentleman who I've tried to pronounce his name in the past, and I've failed miserably. It's Kralski.
Kralski, good man.
Kralski Donsky.
Kralski Donsky. Nice one.
Good man.
Listen, I thought I should give you a wee call because
cheers.
You're going on about obviously the board and how the board should be treating Celtic fans with a wee bit more respect and that kind of thing. And I think maybe that's went a wee bit out the window after today. I think maybe you're already aware of the Craig White banner that went round the stadium.
Yeah.
So it went round the stadium from the Green Brigade round to the right. I was sitting next to Polly at 60s, and they went right round and they got to the south stand where the board.
Did he spill any of the Vadi Bavra on the banner? I mean, did he keep that clear? Or?
Mate, I tell you something, right? I said, Body Bobble, what are you all about? Body Bobble.
He is mental.
I kid you not, mate. I'm not a vodka lover, right? I don't like vodka, but a Body Bobble, you need to give it a try, man. You really need to give it a try.
No.
I like Bovril, right? I don't know if it's... I like Bovril, but I hate vodka, right? But you need to give it a try, by the way. I kid you not.
Match made in heaven.
Oh, man. So anyway, this banner went right round the stadium, right? And then it was coming up to where the board sit. And they were all shouting, oh, give it to the board. But it managed to do a bypass through the board, right? So then I get to the Hibs fans. And then again, they were all shouting, give it to the Hibees. And then it came all the way back. And this time, rather than also going underneath the board, they actually went right up to the top. And the board had no option but to push this banner right through the heated seats. It was sublime. I've never seen anything so funny in my whole life. It was superb. This banner about Craig White, the last thing the board wanted was that for that banner to go anywhere near them. And it was superb. And big cheer. Me and Polly, me and 60s were just in absolute stitches watching it. I've never seen anything so funny in my life. So
we heard the chants of "Give to the police" too.
So I think also in terms of respect, they were probably it was the same. It was the Craig White section, the 4-horse Four Horse Apocalypse.
Right.
Do
So
you
they
remember that banner against,
yes.
against the Shame?
So they just cut
I
that
think they
out.
just cut that out, and then I was saying to Paul just at the start of the second half, what's that? They're bringing something down here. It's like, no, I think they're just taking something up, and then it just came down. Green Brigade, oh, Craigie, right, and then it came.
No.
Mate, it was sublime, absolutely sublime. So I just thought I should add that wee bit. If we're looking for the board to give, especially the Green Brigade, a wee bit more respect, I think maybe there might be a wee bit of seething after that.
Listen, carrying a banner is one thing, but stepping up and showing some empathy towards the supporters, and especially the Green Brigade, and let them know, listen, we know you're going through a bad deal here. We have your back. We're supporting you. I mean, I don't think that's too hard. I don't think that's too much to ask. There's been a good example laid forth from Hull City, and I would hope that they would come forth and do it. I don't have a lot of hope that would happen, but I would certainly hope that any sort of activity that would give a sort of unsolicited any sort of information about any Celtic supporters at Celtic Park or elsewhere, giving them over to the police, that needs to stop. That there needs to be questions asked of the police when they come looking for this sort of information, and there needs to be a lot of reparations made.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. The support we got at George's Square today was phenomenal.
You were there. You were there. Okay,
yeah.
Tell us about it. I mean, the BBC has come out and described it as a gathering of hundreds. I would say the tens of hundreds, but probably close to maybe 3,500 to 4,000. By some estimates.
Yeah.
What was the atmosphere like? I mean, was there nervousness? I mean, everybody getting together, not really knowing what the police are going to do. Are they going to kettle? Or are they going to come in with batons or whatever? I mean, was there nervousness? I mean, and was there like a moment where you thought, right, this is going to be all right. We're going to be fine here.
Yeah. Basically, I got the train up. I met a boy in the train, a friend of mine, and then I met my other friend, pretty much at the George's Square.
Did you get off at you got off at Queen Street?
We got up at Central Station.
Central.
So
was there
5 minute walk away?
Was there any bother at the train station from the police or anything?
Absolute nothing.
Okay.
Absolute dead.
Good.
When we got, I think by the 5 minute walk from Central up to George's Square, I probably counted about two coppers, two police.
Good. Okay.
It was pretty much they weren't visible. You know what I mean? I went to the Count House, which is right at George's Square.
Yeah.
And that was stowed. That was busy.
Yeah.
I planned to get there for a quick refreshment, and there was no chance. So I popped outside. I got 60s. And then I walked up and I could hear that there was... Basically, it started off and they were all saying, okay, thanks for this supports club, thanks for that supports club, and so on and so forth. And then it was a bit of a delay. I think maybe it was meant to kick off about, say, 12, but I think it didn't kick off until about 12:30. But even at this time, anyone that knows George's Square, you've got the two main statues with the two guys on a horse.
Right.
I'm Glaswegian and I don't know who they are, so there we go. Anyway, there's two guys on a horse, and in between you had the obviously the speaker stand as such.
Right.
And then again, it just kicked off. We're just obviously talking about, as I said, flanking all the supporters club, flanking obviously the numbers. I would say the estimates what you said are anywhere between 3,500, 4,000.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
I stood right at the front, and from what I could see, looking right back, it was going, many numbers back. And then we just had the boy, I think it's Chris McCann from Fans Against Criminalisation, he kicked it off, did a right good rousing speech. P. I think Michael Mann.
Yeah.
I think Michael Mann.
Yeah.
And then Jeanette Finlay was superb.
Yeah.
We, obviously, Glaswegians all know a lot of socialist speakers and that kind of thing. And she kind of, she put what it's all about.
Yeah.
She put it right. She was good at that. And then the walk back. They said don't walk in the roads and all that.
So they tried to sort of corral you onto the sidewalks. I mean, was there any trouble with it? I mean, obviously that's a lot of people that are going to be walking essentially from the same place to the same place. I mean, did people just sort of spread out? I mean, did some folks take one route and then other folks took another? Or was it just everybody went sort of the same way and tried to stay organized? And was there any bother with the police? I mean, did you notice this mobilization of loads of cop cars and yellow vests and all that? I mean, what was that like? Paint the picture.
So we started walking, and then as soon as we walked across George's Square onto the road. And again, I'm sitting saying to my friend, my mate, I was like, listen, they've said to stay on the pavement, so at least try not to antagonise things, just do as I kind of saying. But as you know, obviously with the numbers, it was difficult to do, so you know what I mean? So we just, we walked in the roads.
Yeah.
And from the time, I walked right up until we got to the Barrowlands, and there was only one police officer. Turned and says, "Listen, pal, can you?" And she was friendly.
Yeah.
She says, "Listen, pal, can you go to the sidewalk, the pavement?" So that's fine, no bother. You know what I mean, and then there was, you probably think I would have counted probably, you've seen maximum 6 to 10 police officers.
Yeah.
I mean, and 2 police. As soon as we had, see, we were all kicked off of the Gallagher. We the march as such 3 weeks ago. When we got there, I noticed there was 2 police horses. But apart from that, it was very low key. And even today in the game, as I say, I was sitting with sixes, Polly, and right next to the game brigade, and I barely seen any coppers.
Well, there should be coppers around St. Sixtus. That boy is mental.
Do right, man. Oh, what a day! He's I owe him big time for the day. I mean, he treated me well today. I mean, so.
He's
but listen,
great.
It was something to be proud of today. Something
no question.
To be very proud of.
I mean, you know, the boys put on quite a performance for you as well. I mean, you know, I had some opportunities they should have put away and didn't. But I mean, it was great to see. I mean, for me, I was excited to see, even if they couldn't finish the chances, Hooper and Stokes linking up like that. You know, I mean, just magical. I mean, you know, finding space and yeah.
It's back to the days, so that's what they're good at. And,
we even saw Patty. Patty got a wee run out. I loved it.
A wee cameo role.
Fantastic.
Anyway, boys, I just thought I should give you a wee phone just to like give you a wee insight in terms of that banner. That banner's going to go down. I mean, we heard the Green Brigade boys on the Homeboys, and they were saying, obviously talking about the banners, and obviously they says, like, I'm sure you remember the Scotland Shame banner.
Yeah.
But that banner is going to go down history just for the fact that the board had to actually touch it and move it on. It was superb. Also, you couldn't paint a better picture. After all the issues with the PLC and the fans. Fantastic.
I love it. Krolski, thank you so much for calling in, pal. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Hail.
Hail. Yep. Cheers. Krolski Donsky getting in touch. He made it through 90 minutes of sitting next to Poli. And for that, he should be applauded. I kid St. Sixtus. I love him to death, even though he's terrifying. But I mean, like, he's like the most terrifying person. And you meet him in person, and it's like he's just like the greatest guy. So, very passionate in his views, and we love him for it. And he's the drum trapple provo. So fantastic stuff. We got a sense for what it was like from an attendee firsthand. That's pretty well.
It was, all that, like I said, they're they knew that the spotlight was on them.
Yes, exactly. Well, and the other conclusion out of this was any of that really necessary 2 weeks back, for the Corteo? Was any of that necessary? Just because they didn't have a permit, then you go in and you kettle them and you beat them with batons. I mean, really, they multiplied the amount of people by easily a multiple of 20, and there wasn't any problem, and you didn't need to do that. But to your point, they knew that the spotlight was on them, and that is where our leverage is, and this needs to continue. This can't just be a one and done.
Now, what was it? Maybe I missed something, or I just don't remember. But was there an actual march or something 2 weeks ago, or was this just
Well, I mean, define march. I mean, a group of people walking down the street.
Right, like that's what I mean. Like, okay, so for example, when I go to Red Bulls games and we have a solid, 1 mile walk from our bar to the stadium, and we all just, from the other street, the 2 other clubs come up and we meet at the bridge. So it's just too many people at one spot.
It's exactly the same. It's as if Harrison Police came in and kettled you and then started beating the shit out of like little kids that were in sort of your area.
Or the same token, I've gone to Yankees games and people coming from all over, from the subway stops, from the side streets where they park cars or the actual, parking lots.
Yes.
And you just convene, and it's like, of course, you're going to have, 60,000 people coming from all over, going to one spot. Of course they're going to,
well,
be
but
in the same
it was
area.
well, but it was a bit more. Or I wouldn't use the Yankee analogy. I would use more of the rebel analogy, where it was announced the night before the Green Brigade were going to get together, they were going to march together and sing songs, because of the abuse that they've had from the board as well as the police. So it was a bit more organized. They put it out on their website. The police were ready. They knew the route before they were going to take part in it, and they were set up to intercept. And in spite of the fact that they hadn't broken any sort of law, other than they didn't get the proper permitting for having a group of people walk someplace.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure if I missed something, where it was just, we always know these people are going to be together en masse, so let's just fuck shit up, or if there was a little bit more of a reason to it. Okay.
No. Yeah. No, there wasn't any violence until the cops came in and started beating the shit out of people, and and then
that's usually how it goes.
And then they blamed it on the Green Brigade. Seems reasonable. So, okay, we got to wrap this up now. But switching, I do want to touch on the return of Craigie White, or as Charlie Green likes to call him, Google Eye.
Would you please pass the jelly?
He's back. So we might need to be doing jelly and ice cream again here in the near future. Are you excited, Rev?
Of course, I'm always excited.
Rev. I mean, this is sort of old news, but Rangers obviously bleeding through £1 million more than they take in on a monthly basis. I mean, that can only go on for so long. They did have a share issue in December that raised £22 million, and they're basically living off of that at the moment. They have the second highest payroll in Scotland, in spite of the fact they are in the third division, and the winners of the second division, Queen of the South, had a total budget of £100,000. So, what does this mean for the Huns? Well, this obviously is not sustainable unless they get back to the SPL ASAP. That doesn't look likely as the situation currently stands. Now, if they can somehow whip up a stramash of bullshit, a bullshit stramash, a bullshit souffle, if you like,
Sounds delicious.
that can have them go right back into the SPL and then take all of that revenue, then they might be on more solid footing. Although the argument then becomes they would have to up their the amount that they're spending, because their team is currently shit anyway, and they wouldn't even finish second if they were in the SPL at this point. So they would have to spend more money. And then the question becomes, do people come back? Now, to complicate that issue, whether or not people come back, Craig White comes back. And he's announced that, and these tapes, if you haven't listened to them, I mean, they're on the Sun website. I need to hold my nose if I ever go there. I'm sure there are other outlets, but Craig White essentially recorded many of his, I think there's 7 total tapes. He's released 3 so far. So there's more to come. More to come, folks.
Got cliffhanger.
Yes.
I like it.
Dun, dun, dun. I'm sounding like Craig White. Google Eye. Yeah, so he comes out and he says that he's essentially getting £1 million a year hush money from Charles Green to not talk about their arrangement. He is essentially behind the whole thing. Charles Green had, I believe it was £237,000 that he needed to pay Craig White at some point, never did. Then he comes out and says, well, I was just holding it in a bank account, and actually I tried to give it back to him. And Craig White was like, no, I'm not available to take my money back. Right, that's believable. It's almost like the Father Ted explanation, Like, no, the money was just resting. It was just resting in the account. Very good. Nobody from Yorkshire talks like that. Yeah, so it's all a big shitstorm. But the essential theme of this is they're fucked. Bleeding off £1 million more than you bring in a situation where you absolutely have to get to the SPL as soon as possible, when there's little to no chance of that happening, at least for another 2 years, pretty much is not sustainable. So they're going to need to either chop huge amounts of their salary, and they made a huge stride towards that by cutting Fran Sandaza this past week. More cuts are definitely going to be needed, though, in order to balance the books. And they're already operating with substandard means, substandard resources, but it's going to have to be pulled back even more. Now, the Craig White issue is that Craig White transferred the club over to Charles Green and, into Sevco 5088. So then in the fall, before the share issue happened in December, the assets, so Ibrox, the training grounds, and all the trophies and, all the orange sashes, they put all that into a box and they transfer that over to Sevco Scotland. But Craigie's claiming foul, saying that he never approved that. And Craigie wants his stadium back. So this could get interesting, folks. Charles Green's response then was, right, we needed to tell him whatever he needed to hear in order to get him to give us the shares. But what he's claiming in terms of him still owning the club is bullshit. So essentially, Charles Green is saying, right, so we screwed Craig White out of his shares, but him telling us that we're crooks is not true. That seems reasonable.
Would you please pass it, Jalen?
I think it's coming. I mean, I don't think either one of them. I mean, let's be honest. In our heart of hearts, do we really believe that Charles Green gives a damn whether the All Rangers or Rangers Sevco or Sevco 88? Do you really think that he gives a damn whether or not the club ever, competes in Scotland again?
No, that's he's not a wealthy fan who bought the remainder, the shards of life left over.
Hey up, I'm drinking my Yorkshire tea, reading me blooming paper.
He's a what you call it, assets
stripper.
Whatever. Asset stripper, thank you, yeah. That's what he does. He buys crap and
calls people names.
Right.
You Google eye.
Would you please pass it, Jalen?
You Google eye. So, it never ends. It never ceases to amaze.
But the gift that keeps on giving.
But they're fucked.
I hope so.
They will never compete again to anything even close to the same level.
You think so?
They will never ever compete to the same level. I mean, right now, only criminals. I mean, essentially, only crooks, only financial crooks are even remotely interested in messing around with it to sort of scrap whatever they can out of it, and try and pull a fast one. I mean, that's all Craig White was. Taking it off of Sir David Minty's Hot Wheels. I mean, the club was on the balls of its ass at that point. He bought it for $1. And he knew he had all sorts of issues. And then they come out, they're found not guilty on sporting intent, to the intent of gaining a sporting advantage. Please, so that exonerates them. Please.
What I find even more laughable with that is the people who are counting, Division 3 as number 55. Even if you are going to say that that it is the same entity, how you can lump that in
Google eye
is, whatever. I don't know.
Would you please pass it, Jalen?
Jelly and ice cream time.
Although, real quick, I did get a good laugh this morning. I got to give a shout out to Cleveland Celtics CSC. They had a picture of the title, the third division title trophy. Did you see it today?
No.
It's a nice big bottle of Iron Brew.
Very nice. Nicely done. The Cleveland boys are good crack. I got to get out there. Speaking of which, I want to give a shout out to Prefontaine. He was in DC this week and was able to have him over on Thursday night, I believe. So it was great to catch up with him and see him. And so hopefully he had a nice time. You should have seen, the jacket that he was wearing. Seriously, I had my pea coat on that I get so much abuse about, and now I know why. Because, compared to my jacket, his jacket was absolutely beautiful. I don't know what it was, but, he's a very sharp dresser. So it was great to have him over and to see him again. We did a little barbecue, although I completely screwed it up. Some of the burgers weren't cooked all that well, and then I burnt half the hot dogs. I like a burnt hot dog, though.
You're an ambassador.
I know.
And I
fucked
dropped the ball.
I did. I like a burnt hot dog. Do you? Don't you? I mean, come on. You get a little char on there. It's a little flavor.
You'd love Rutt's Hut.
Yeah.
You ever hear of it?
No.
North Jersey hot dog place. They call their hot dogs rippers, where they burn them until they pop and rip.
The Australians would like that. Wicked ripper.
From Boston?
No, yeah, sure thing. So it's great to have him out and catching up, and he is doing a world tour right now. So safe travels back home. I think he's passing through Chicago, one of my favorite cities. So safe travels, and
Jesus, what's he doing, like a Magellan, like literally circumnavigating the globe?
He is. He's on a fact-finding mission for the Australian secret society of Fenians. It's the ASSF, Australian Secret Society of Fenians. So he's gathering information for the Fenian mission, and doing great work. So shout out to him, and also shout out to the Celtic Graves guys who put together a fantastic. I'm taking a look at some of the pictures, and I regret not being able to make it up this weekend. Got a lot of things sort of up in the air, but they had an event in Fort Lee, New Jersey, not too far from yourself there, Rev, for Charlie Shaw, who, thinking back to a few weeks ago, we had Jim Blythe on, the great Jim Blythe from Celtic Graves, hearing about Charlie Shaw's story, and so today was the day that they honored him at his final resting place. So shout out to Chaz and NYC Lenny on Twitter. I know they were instrumental in putting a lot of that together. So Chaz Duffy, hello to you, and hopefully see you soon at some way, shape, or form. And if you haven't listened to the Homeboys from this past week, please give it a listen. Jeanette Finley, really a formative figure in terms of the demo today, and in terms of looking out for all of our rights. Really spoke well. Really is a leader that's looking out for all of us. And also listen to Half the World Away, another podcast done by Pat from Melbourne. Yesterday they had Jim Blythe on from the Celtic Graves talking about the event that was happening today. And he put together a nice reading and a nice production at the end, talking about some of the first Celtic players who actually came over to live in America permanently. So it's fascinating stuff. So definitely worth a listen. Check them out, and as well as everything else on Hail Hail Media. So I need to wrap it up. Jim's wondering whether or not I'm on drugs. I'm not on drugs. I'm on ginger beer. You on drugs, Rev?
My lawyer has told me to not answer that question.
Seems reasonable. So, with that being said, Rev, thank you so much.
As usual.
Okay. No problem. You're welcome. As usual. That's a new one. But great stuff. And we will catch up with you soon next week. I've Dundee United at Hampden. We're going to exorcise the demons of Hampden. So looking forward to that, and carrying a positive vibe through the rest of the weekend. And all the best to all the band pots at the book launch. My name is Graham Wilson, and on behalf of the Rev, hail, hail, and keep the faith. Taking us out, as always, is Shane McGowan.
Goodbye, everybody.
And the Pogues. Hey, thanks to Kralski for calling in, too. Great stuff, pal. Hail, hail, and keep the faith.
The island, it is silent now, but the ghosts still haunt the waves. And a torch lights up a famished man who fortune could not save. Did you work upon the railroads? Did you ride the streets of crime? Were your dollars from the White House? Were they from the 5 and dime? old songs taught to cheer you, and it does still make you cry. Did you count the months and years, or did your teardrops quickly dry? I know that it was not to be on a coffin ship. I came here and I never even got so far that they could change my name. Thousands are sailing across the western ocean to a land of opportunity that some of them will never see. Fortune prevailing across the western ocean, their bellies full, their spirits free. They'll break the chains of poverty and they'll dance. In Manhattan's desert twilight, in the dead of afternoon, we stepped hand in hand on Broadway, like the first men on the moon. And a blackbird broke the silence as you whistled, it's so sweet. And in Brendan Behan's footsteps, I danced up and down the street. And we said goodnight to Broadway, giving it our best regards. Took our hats to Mr. Cohen, dear old Times Square's favorite bird. Then we raised a glass to JFK and a dozen more besides. When I got back to my empty room, I suppose I must have cried. Thousands are sailing again across the ocean with a hand of opportunity. Trust tickets